2020.
Yes, that is the song, that is the theme of my next guest, Myles McNamara of Aging with Power. He is back in the studio. He is host of Aging with Power, the first Tuesday of every month here on KHTS, keeping you strong from the womb to the tomb. He's got the greatest slogan on KHTS. He's live in studio. Myles, what's up, man?
How you doing, Aaron? Good to be back.
I'm doing well. He's also the president and owner of Comfort Keepers In-Home Care with offices here in the Santa Clarita Valley, North Valley, and Encino. 3 offices now.
Well, no, we cover the North Valley from Santa Clarita, but my Encino
covers
down past Ventura Boulevard going south.
Okay. You've been ducking me the past couple months. I haven't seen you since April.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. So, Myles, for people that don't know, you've become quite the mental health awareness advocate, not only for the senior community, but the general population as a whole. In fact, for the listening audience who didn't attend or who might not know, a couple months ago, you were sort of the major organizing force of this Out of the Darkness suicide prevention and mental health awareness walk. It's been a couple months since I've seen you. Give me a little bit of a recap.
Well, I can't take that much credit. I was the title sponsor. Comfort Keepers In-Home Care was the title sponsor, but Donnell DeRubez is the one that pulled it all together, and she deserves all that credit. I was happy to be the sponsor, and it was the first one out here in Santa Clarita. There's Out of the Darkness walks that are around the country, but this is the first time that we did it in Santa Clarita. Donnell deserves all the credit. I was just the sponsor, but again, it's to bring attention and awareness to mental health, suicide prevention, and awareness. That it's okay to ask for help or to talk to somebody. I mean, we all take care of our physical bodies by working out. It's okay to take care of your mental body, if you will, as well. It's not okay to just say, hey, let's talk.
Has that topic become more prevalent in the senior community?
Not necessarily the senior community, but there's always been a stigma that surrounded mental health, and that if you ever, it's almost commonplace now. I think it's awesome that people can just say, my therapist said, or I'm in therapy, blah blah blah. But think about it. Not too long ago, if you said you were in therapy or referred to something your therapist said, you were all of a sudden kind of like glared at and like, oh,
yeah, you're kind of a lunatic. I remember even Tony Soprano had to keep that, he had to keep that under lock and key.
Not going to say anything bad about Tony, but
no, of course not.
But again, it's just, and I did get involved. There's a CO College of the Canyons. We have a suicide prevention, mental health awareness committee that Larry Schallert asked me to be on, because I do deal with seniors with my in-home care company. And seniors are fairly prevalent in the area of taking their own lives, and so we just want to make it something that people can talk about, and so that you feel comfortable. If you think you have a friend struggling, just walk up and say, hey, are you okay? Mm-hmm. Because we did a little film through that committee on about just that, the signs that you should look for if somebody's thinking of suicide, and what to do when you recognize those signs, and then and a lot of people are so timid in just approaching someone, and again, it's that simple to say, hey, are you okay? Mm-hmm. Which starts a conversation, which somewhere in that conversation is very uncomfortable, but to ask them, are you thinking of suicide?
Yeah, that's a very slept on part of the whole conversation, because one, there's the people that are going through it, and it's tough enough to be someone who's going through it. But there's also the other side of recognizing some of those signs and starting that conversation. So you are becoming kind of the go-to guy in the community, one of them.
Well, again, I wouldn't say that. I'm part of a big committee. Because of my past life in the entertainment industry, when we decided to do a film or a video, but it turned out to be a nice little film of just that, of the signs to look for. They asked me to kind of take the point, which I was happy to do. So we did a little film. It's called Be the Difference. And so we're talking to people like you and I who maybe aren't considering suicide ourselves, but we're in contact with a loved one or someone who may be thinking of taking their own life. And so, what are the signs you look for? And then once you recognize the sign, what do you do? And that's where Donnell comes back into play, who did our Out of the Darkness walk, is because she works with the AFSP, American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, and she's a life coach, and she volunteers a lot of her time. And in the film, she kind of brings it home, like, okay, you've seen a sign, you recognize the sign. What do you do now? So we did 2 versions. Everything's the same except for Donnell's part of Santa Clarita Valley resources of who you can reach out to for help and talking or what have you. And then a national version, if you will, that can be played anywhere in the United States, that gives the national suicide hotline and text line, and so we have 2 versions, and it's kind of cool the way it turned out. We want you to be the difference, step in and engage. And we had 2 amazing ladies, Michaela and Ellie, who actually were part of the film that shared their suicide loss, and then kind of looking back of signs they may have missed, what they would have done differently if they could, which was a very painful process.
Yeah.
But they both work with Teen Line and volunteering to educate people. So they wanted to share their story and kind of say, these are the signs. This is what we could have done possibly a little different, and then encourage people to engage and take a step to get involved.
So where can we watch this? Is this up on YouTube? Is this on the College of the Canyons
website?
website?
It's going to be. Well, actually, I talked to Jerry and Carl here. We're going to have sort of a Be the Difference rollout day where I'm probably going to use Aging with Power to have Larry Shallert and possibly Donnell to talk about not only the health and wellness and suicide prevention aspect of things, but then to have Be the Difference live somewhere on hometownstation.com's website, have some an outline or a conversation or some kind of verbiage on the website as well that pertains to the film. But right now, if you wanted kind of a preview, you can send me an email at mileswithay@comfortkeepers.com. I'd be happy to send you a Dropbox link so you can take a look.
Cool.
That's mileswithay@comfortkeepers.com. But we haven't had a huge rollout of it yet. The city of Santa Clarita is about to start an awareness campaign. They actually helped fund this film. They gave us, half the budget.
Oh, wow.
And then, so we're kind of in meetings now with our committee and the city to kind of see what that campaign would look like. And so kind of in the brainstorming process of that right now. But hopefully Be the Difference will be a nice linchpin of the program.
Very nice. He is Myles McNamara, host of Aging with Power, the first Tuesday of every month here on KHTS. Also the president and owner of Comfort Keepers in-home care with offices here in the Santa Cruz Valley, also North Valley as well, offices right in Encino. For anyone that is living under a rock, basically, for the past, 5-10 years, however long you've been involved with us here at the station, take us through a little bit about what the Comfort Keepers do.
Well, home care is a relatively new industry. I've been doing it probably for as long as it's been around, for almost 2 decades. But in-home care is non-medical. We are not nurses. A lot of times we, convey that to our seniors because they're proud, they're independent, but they want to stay in their own home. Mm-hmm. So we say, well, we're a personal assistant. We're a concierge, if you will. And, our seniors have grown up possibly, hiring out for gardeners, hiring housekeepers, But if you use the word caregiver, sometimes it makes them kind of draw back a little bit. But what we do is we come into the home with one of our Comfort Keepers and help our seniors with all aspects of activities of daily living. Bottom line is sometimes our seniors need a helping hand to stay safely in their own home. So my Comfort Keepers will come in and they'll prepare meals. They'll make sure that they take their medications on time. They'll help them in and out of the shower, take them to doctor's appointments, all the things that we as adult children run around, and as part of the sandwich generation, we're taking care of our own kids and orchestrating our own life, but then we got to bounce over and make sure that mom or dad took their medications, that the refrigerator's stocked, that they're eating well, staying hydrated during the summer. So we not only are we a tremendous help to our seniors to keep them in their own home, but we're also a huge stress relief for our adult children who are trying to juggle everything and let mom and dad stay where they want, and that's in their own home.
Right. It's better time spent too with the kids and their aging loved ones now.
Sounds like you and I have talked in the past, but you're absolutely right. So this lets us take care of the things like shopping, house cleaning, meals, whatever. And when the adult kids can come over, then they can be the son or daughter and spend quality time with mom or dad and not be the chore master.
So I've heard you say it, and we're talking with Myles McNamara, president, owner of Comfort Keepers, not only here in the Santa Clarita Valley, but also North Valley with offices right in Encino. Go to comfortkeepers.com to get more info. You know, I've heard you say before, you've never talked to a senior that needed any help, which is so true. There's, of course, the advanced healthcare directives, which in the event if somebody becomes incapacitated, can't make health care decisions for themselves, that's a more serious conversation. But there's a less dire conversation and probably a tougher conversation to have introducing the idea of in-home care to your aging relatives.
Well, as with anything, when you talk about it before it's an emotional issue, it's a lot easier. So we call it the talk. And it's you should have that conversation with your parents of what that journey looks like. Some will choose, at this point I want to move into an assisted living facility. Some will say I want to stay home for absolutely as long as possible. And then you talk about the options and the things that you need to do to prepare that roadmap. So then when it does become an issue, there's no emotion, there's no guilt or things, but a lot of times, more often than not, we'll talk to an adult child or the senior, and they're like, we don't need you yet. Well, I always say be proactive rather than reactive, because we can definitely be there if you fall and break a hip, or if you fall and have a head trauma, so we can come in for a lot, more hours per day than if you say, why don't we use you on a limited basis, come in, make sure mom and dad are eating well. Make sure they don't slip and fall in that shower. So be proactive, because more often than not, people don't know what they don't know. So when you get that finger wagging saying, we're not ready for you yet, they're making two misconceptions. One, they think we're nurses and that they're not medically in need yet. And two, that it's not a proactive service, but only a reactive service. So again, we can be there around the clock if you fall and break a hip or what have you. But if you have us there for a limited amount of time to be that proactive comfort keeper, to make sure mom's eating well, taking her meds on time, and especially in summertime, if they get dehydrated, they'll get a UTI, which is a urinary tract infection. Then they start to be disoriented, and I get calls all the time. Mom was fine last week, but this week she's got dementia. It doesn't come on in a week's time, so she probably has a urinary tract infection, which has a lot of disorienting, confusing type symptoms. But, we can be there to prevent the higher need down the road. So be proactive, not just reactive.
These baby boomers ain't getting any younger. The number of seniors requiring support and care is expected to double over the next 2 decades. I bring that stat up almost every time I talk to you, because it's incredible the amount of people that are going to need help, and Myles McNamara and the Comfort Keepers team is here to provide it. Call them at 661-287-4200 for the number here in the Santa Clarita Valley. Also, you did give me your card. It's right underneath my mic. For the Encino office, you can give them a call at 818-776-5060. That's 818-776-5060. And of course, you can go to comfortkeepers.com for all of the information that you'd ever want about Comfort Keepers in-home care.
And the Encino's office is important for our Santa Clarita listeners, because a lot of our Santa Clarita residents have parents who still live out in the San Fernando Valley. So they're making that trek every day. After work, they'll run out to the Encino office area. So again, wherever mom and dad hang their head, we have clients out in the Palmdale area. And if we don't cover your area, because Comfort Keepers is a franchise, I can find a Comfort Keepers near you.
ComfortKeepers.com. Catch them on Aging with Power the first Tuesday of every month here on KHTS, keeping you strong from the womb to the tomb. And Myles, my man, is featured in every single publication of the Santa Clarita Magazine, giving out some life advice. I read a couple of articles today.
I do an editorial once a month for them. Try to touch on topics that are important to our seniors and the adult kids.
Myles McNamara of Comfort Keepers, ComfortKeepers.com. Thanks for coming in, man.
My pleasure. Thanks.
98.1 FM and